our zipper in 2 squares of fabric, which seems kind of like a pointless endeavor, but we can actually not waste this and use it for something, because the easiest thing in the world, once you've learned to make a zipper, is you can make like a pencil case or a brush holder or whatever it is you need, a little zipper bag. Okay, so for this, you are going to take your fabric. You're going to make sure that we've got our right side, our pretty side. This is our wrong side. And we're going to fold it so that our zipper is on the fold and all the other corners and edges meet. Okay, so we'll do like this, and then I'm going to grab some pins really quickly, and we're going to pin this in place. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this corner lined up, and I'm going to put a pin at a 45-degree angle, and I'll show you why when we get to those corners. So put that on a 45, do the other corner on a 45, and if y'all will pause just a minute, I will grab some pins from the table to put the rest I need. So as I go along and pin, I want to show you a trick, and my trick is when you pin, you want to pin so that your pins are perpendicular to your stitch line, not parallel. It just makes things a lot easier as you go. So if you'll get in the habit now of always pinning perpendicular to your stitch line, it just makes things a little smoother. Now, when you get up here close, you're gonna kind of fold your zipper in half. Now, if your tab is giving you some grief, go ahead and unzip just a hair. That makes it much easier to just fold this right here and put a pin, and I would go ahead and put it in this tape just to hold everything neat and nice, and then maybe one more here, and go ahead and go all the way on the other 2 sides that we're going to pin. Okay, we just finished doing our zipper, so our zipper foot is still attached. Now, if you wanted to, you could use that to sew this, but we're going to go ahead and do things the way we should, I guess, and we're going to go ahead and switch back to the one I dropped. We're going to switch back to that B foot, that one that has the clear spots, because that seems to be one people like a lot. So we're going to put it underneath. Remember, push the black on the back and drop. Sometimes you have to wiggle a little bit. Did I get it? There it is. All right, so that one's there. Lift up. Remember, tuck your threads and pull to the back. Okay. So we're going to sew this on 5/8 of an inch. Remember, I told you that that's a pretty standard thing. Also, that you can just use 15 as a cheat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get my zipper tape in here as close to the edge as I can, and I'm going to drop that needle in there before I drop my foot. Okay. Now I'm going to be very careful as I sew these first few stitches, because it's going to be a little tough to get through. Okay, there it's going. There it goes. So just take your time and don't push it too hard. Okay, now best practice is always to pull pins as you go. This is another reason why it's good to put them perpendicular. It's much easier to grab them as you go. Pull this one. Okay, now remember this one at the bottom that we put in a 45? Okay, that's a visual cue for me, because since I put it in a 45-degree angle, I know where my corner needs to be. And I'm going to roll as close to it as I can. Then I'm going to pull my pin out. And corners tend to take a lot of abuse in things we make. So I'm going to go ahead and back stitch 2 or 3 stitches, and then come back to that corner, drop my needle, lift my presser foot, and pivot. Remember, we've done this on a couple of things. Okay, drop my presser foot, and then 1, 2, 3, and then back 2, 3, and then go. And that's just going to reinforce that corner and make it a little bit stronger and able to take a little bit more stress and strain. Because, you know, if we put pins in here or pointy things, they may poke through a little easier. Keep going, and I'm going to do the same thing when I get to this corner. If I'm nervous about coming up on it, it's always okay to hand roll until we get close, then pull our pin, which is sometimes a little trickier. I don't have fingernails. In case y'all haven't noticed, my nails are a mess because I also work in a wood shop, so my hands always have wood stain and everything else on them. Okay, back 2, 3, front 2, 3, Okay, drop my needle, twist, and drop my foot again. Now we're getting close to that zipper tape, which I do have a pin in. I'm going to go ahead and pull that pin for now. I had it to kind of place hold. And I'm just going to use my fingers to make sure I get this. This is a little bit tougher for the machine to get through, so just be patient. And then back. Okay. All right. Roll my needle up and out of the way. And for this, I'm just going to clip my threads really closely right here. Now, what have we made? Well, I'm going to reach through here and get my zipper to undo, and I will be able to show you that we have essentially made like a pencil bag or makeup bag or whatever bag you want to put in it for small treasures. And as I unzip, then I can flip this right side out to show you what it looks like. Okay, so get the corners out. We'll do that in a second, but here's essentially what we've made. Okay. Now, we need a couple of things that we've got to do to finish it off. So we're going to go back inside for just a minute, and we're going to go back over to our ironing board, my favorite place to be, and do a little neatening and a little trimming so that our bag looks as nice as we can make it. Okay, so one of the things that happens when you make things with corners is when we try to flip things inside out, or right side out, rather, we get this bulky, bleh looking mess down there that nobody likes. So one thing that you need to learn is called clipping corners. Sounds exactly like what it is. So this is another reason I like to do some back stitching at the corners, because if I come here and I clip very close to that corner, but not through it, never through it, if I clip right on those corners, it's going to remove some of this bulky fabric, so that when I go to try to turn this the way I want it to go, I end up with a much neater looking corner without all that bulk. Okay, so I've clipped my corners now, and all I really need to do now to finish this is I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the zipper seam of opening my seams. So I'm going to start by usually taking a long edge and getting it to fold open. Okay. And this just makes everything look neater and more professional. So you can fold up this side and then flip it over and fold up the other side and iron, and it sort of makes the fabric remember that you want it like that, so that when you flip it, it's going to look like a neater seam. Always be careful with the iron. I am the world's worst that I will get my fingers way closer than anybody should, so do the same thing on these side seams. Just iron them open really, really nicely, as far up as you can. It's really hard right by the zipper. It's okay. Oh, there goes the steam function. I heard it. Let's give it some steam now. Okay. And take your time ironing. This is kind of the breather between laps, really. This is where you... my grandmother is the main person that taught me how to sew, and besides her words of wisdom, which was you should spend at least as much time at the ironing board as you do at the sewing machine, her other one was that bad ironing ruins good clothing, and good ironing saves crap. So now we can flip back, and you might want to get not something sharp, but something like a dull pencil, or something that's got a little bit of a point on it will help you if your fingers aren't able to get all the way down the corner, but this is doing pretty well. Just put a little tension, pull on that, then everything should start trying to lay out. And where you iron those seams open, it's going to try to show you that seam right on the edge. Let's go ahead and give it just a little bit of help. Get the top of my zipper pulled out. We're going to actually take our iron and give it one little jet of steam down each edge. nice and flat. Work with this to get it right on the seam line, nice and flat. And there you go, a little zipper back.